Our next guest is an Olivier Award-winning Tony-nominated actor you know from movies like Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, Kick-Ass, the Kingsman franchise, and Cruella. He's back on Broadway starring in Oedipus, which is playing at Studio 54 through February 8th. Please welcome to the show, Mark Strong, everybody. Welcome to the show, Mark. So happy you're finally here.
Well, it's very lovely to be here.
And congratulations on Oedipus. I have to ask, this is a 2-hour play. You're on stage almost the entirety of the show.
Yep.
How is that pace for you? Are you used to it at this point?
You just have to drive through. You know,
Yeah.
I get a tiny little bit in the middle where I get to go off and drink a little hot water with lemon and honey. But other than that, I'm kind of driving the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you knew what you were getting into. You've done this show for a while now. You did it on the West End as well.
Yes.
I do enjoy asking people, what have you found to be the difference between American audiences and British audiences?
Well, this audience is fantastic.
Yeah, there you go. So American audience, I think American audiences respond well to pandering.
Yes. This is by far the best audience.
Yeah.
They tend to be more vocal. I think that's the thing. They
In a way that you like?
Yeah, it's not a problem.
Yeah.
Very much so. I like it very much. Yeah. No, it's not a problem. It's just they often want to let you know they're there. So if there's a sort of in-joke or there's an Easter egg in there, they'll be a bit more vocal just to let you know they've got the idea.
Yeah.
And the strange thing is this tradition of being applauded when you come on at the beginning of the play.
If they've ever seen you anywhere else,
yes, right,
in a movie, in a television show, and you come on stage at Broadway, there's thunderous applause.
yes, exactly,
And it's lovely. I mean, I would think
you know that they know who you are, which is quite nice.
Yeah.
But you want to come on in character, not as the actor. So
Right.
it's tricky.
Yeah, because I would imagine that you have to. I mean, you know, part of the respect of the actual work is you have to pause long enough to wait for the.
Well, exactly. Everyone has to wait while the applause dies down, and then you get on with the play. So it's odd for us, but it's not unwelcome.
This is Oedipus is obviously a very famous play. I think a lot of people know, one of the kind of core things that happens, but you still have audiences that are maybe surprised.
Yes, I mean, I'm sure everybody knows the story that he's murdered his father and he's sleeping with his mother, and only the Greeks could write that story.
Yeah.
No disrespect to the Greeks.
No, of course. They're your favorite audience.
I love them, yeah. Not as good as this audience, but they're pretty good. So yes, that's the story, and people generally know it, but some don't. And the other day we had a very lovely lady who was sitting in about the 5th row, who decided when the penny dropped with her, she just literally came out with, "Oh my God, she's his mother!" Which we all heard.
Yeah. That's what a funny thing to have happen in a play that has been around for so long.
Yes.
I feel like you definitely aren't allowed to say about Oedipus, no spoilers.
No.
You know what I mean? You're like, how do you not know at this point?
Well, some people don't, and there's a lot of gasps, and there's a lot of moments when they, realise what's happening.
Yeah.
And but that is great. I mean, I think it works for people who know the story and who don't.
It's also a sort of, as you can tell, even from the playbill, which we just learned from Sarah Silverman. But
yes,
the way you're dressed. This is a modern. So I mean, it's crazy to say a modern adaptation of Oedipus, but it takes place in modern times. You're a politician. It's on election night.
Yep.
What was your first reaction when the director sort of brought you this idea for doing an old play this way?
I loved it. I thought it was a great way to tell an old story. I mean, the play's 2,500 years old, but to set it on election night in 2 hours, no interval, and it's between the polls closing and the results being announced, and it's accessible because you understand who a politician is, and you have a family relationship that you can understand in the play, rather than, I suppose, the original I sometimes describe as robes and wailing.
Yeah. It's nice when you know there's not going to be robes and wailing. I think that's
exactly. Greek
There's
tragedy
also
can
another
be that.
a really nice sort of bit of staging device. There's a countdown clock.
Yeah.
And it's counting down very much like when you're watching election night on television. Do you feel like the clock, is it distracting for you to have the clock, or have you gotten used to it?
No, I don't look at the clock at all. The clock means that when the clock reaches 0 is meant to be the moment that the polls, the election result is announced. But for the audience, it means something else. It's basically there is a revelation going to happen at the end of that clock, and it's not actually the end of the play. It's the moment of revelation when, after 2 hours, it's actually about 1 hour and 45, Oedipus realizes that life isn't exactly as he thought it was.
Yeah. I would also imagine having a countdown clock on stage saves that thing where people have to check what time it is on their phone.
There is that. Everybody knows exactly where they are. I
Yeah.
worried originally when I read that there was going to be a clock, because if the play had been bad, people would literally be going, "Oh my God, there's another hour to go," you know.
But I feel I've been at a lot of plays where people try to like sneaky look at their phone, and that's when they drop their phone.
Yes.
Yeah, when they want to check time, and then you all of a sudden see like a blast of light, and then like.
Phones have become such a big part of life that they're not absent in the theatre. And at Studio 54, the floor is wooden.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
it's-
so you hear it.
Well, it's not that people are checking their phones particularly. It's that I think they put them on the seat, maybe by their
Yeah.
legs. There's clunking throughout the play as people shift, and suddenly the phone falls out on the floor. You can hear that coming from all over the auditorium.
Oh, well, that's nice for you.
Yeah, we're used to it.
I have to ask. I meant what I said. I've been a big fan of yours for a long time. So, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy is a book I love. I love the original miniseries so much that when I heard it was going to be a film, I had my doubts. And
Yeah.
it's one of my favorite. You played Jim Preto. He was a fantastic character.
Yeah.
Did you know the Alec Guinness miniseries as well?
I did. I'd seen it, and you grow up with as a British schoolboy with
Yeah.
John le Carré.
Yeah.
But the amazing thing about this was it was directed by a Swede, Thomas Alfredson.
Yeah.
And I think bringing that non-British angle on the film made it ultimately incredibly British, ironically. I remember Gary Oldman and I once, we were doing a scene, and Thomas was trying to explain to us how he wanted it to feel. And he said to us, he was full of little sort of phrases like that. He said, "I want it to smell like damp tweed." Gary and I looked at each other and went, "I sort of know what he means."
Yeah.
You know?
I also years ago was reading a list of the best British television shows of all time because I love a good British miniseries. And number one on the list was is Our Friends from the North or
Our Friends in the North.
In the North?
Yeah.
And this was a very young you,
Yes.
very young Daniel Craig.
Yes.
To speak to how young it is, completely different hairstyle here, Martin.
Yes. Yeah. There we are, smouldering away, not in our own hair.
Yeah. Oh, this is not your own.
No,
hair. Okay.
neither of those are both
Okay,
wigs.
gotcha. All right,
Yeah,
both
yeah.
wigs at the time. You knew Daniel for a long time then. Was this where did you first meet here?
Yeah, we met on that job and we became really good friends and we lived together for a while.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
is it true that there was a moment where you were maybe going to be a Bond villain?
Yeah, no, I was up for a Bond villain and I went for the audition. Trouble is, I'd been out with Daniel the night before. And I was a bit the worse for wear and I blew the audition, basically. Yeah.
Well, that's very unfair because they weren't going to recast James Bond. He should have been nicer to you when you were
This
out
was
there. Oh,
way before he was James Bond.
really?
Yeah, this was a Pierce Brosnan era.
So not
movie.
only did he screw you over then by keeping you out too late. I mean, it's a classic James Bond move, really, when you look at it.
Well, that's true, yeah.
Have you gone back? Have you rewatched this? Do you ever go back and watch stuff like this?
I know people who have and say
Yeah.
that it really stands up.
It's really great.
Yeah, it's a lot. I think 80% of the budget of that particular TV channel was given to that show at the time, and everybody thought it was a massive risk. But it's really a state of the nation piece about the UK.
Yeah.
And it worked really well over there.
Yeah, and it kind of goes from like the 60s to like sort of the 90s. And for somebody who grew up here, there was a lot I was unfamiliar with. So I really enjoyed watching it. And,
Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Congrats on the show. Such a pleasure.
Oh, my pleasure.
Mark Strong, everyone. Oedipus is playing at Studio 54 on Broadway. We'll be right back.